Hello and welcome everyone. I'm really excited for today's video because I have a really fun, unique project for you that I actually completed with my husband. And this is what my son has to say about the project. That is his new Halloween character, Pumpkin Boy. All right, let's get to it. We had the torch already from a plumbing issue that we had to fix, so we already had it, and we needed some wood for another project. And so my husband had gone around and to different like construction sites around town and asked for scrap wood that they were going to be throwing away. So these were some of the wood pieces that he had gotten, and he decided he wanted to do some kind of burning project. And this is what we came. Well, first we tested a piece of wood to see what it would look like, and I don't know, it just kind of said Halloween to me. So I wanted to do a Halloween project, and this is what he came up with. So this is really his brainchild. So that first piece of wood, he just did the whole front side, and it kind of gave kind of a cloudy effect, which worked out perfectly for what we were doing. And we had we laid out the 4 pieces we were going to use, traced out where the moon was going to be, and we wanted to make it kind of look a little like it was glowing. So he is focusing more on the outer edges and not quite as much where the moon is. So we're trying to go for kind of a fade. So that's what we have so far. So the wood grain kind of gives it kind of a cloud look, like creepy cloud coverage. So it worked out really well. And it did end out with, kind of that glow we were going for by focusing the fire on the outer edges. One thing to keep in mind, obviously, you need to wear, some safety gear and stuff probably. We're not all that great about that kind of thing. But when you are working with this, moving it as quickly as he is, I did speed it up. So he isn't actually moving it this quickly, but, moving it that fast, it can make it go out. So, keep that in mind. And it was really interesting to watch how differently each piece of wood burned. Some of them, it got dark really, really fast, and then others it seemed like it just took forever. All right, so the 4 pieces were done. So we have our moon space kind of in the center. We took one of the Dollar Tree mermaid houses and took off the seashell, which you can see where starfish, see where it was, but that's fine. It's going to be covered anyway. And peeled off that paper, and he took it outside and sanded it, but not completely because it kind of had this kind of creepy look. So he went around and torched it, and it ended up with a interesting look from that, which again kind of gave it that creepy vibe, which worked really well. And he did go around the edges. So this is how the house turned out. And then I cut out the center of a paper plate for the moon. So now I need to paint my paper plate moon. I did what would be the underside of the paper plate because it's not as shiny, so I figured the paint would adhere to it better. I used a yellow Sunny Day acrylic paint from Apple Barrel, and I dabbed it on with a sponge. And it's not as clear in the video as it was in real life, but it gave it kind of some texture. And then I used the pumpkin orange Waverly chalk paint. I went around everything but the very interior. Then I went back with the yellow and kind of blended all of that in together. And basically I just kind of continued doing this over and over again until it looked the way that I wanted. So I again went around the edges with the orange and then kind of blotted it in. I went back in the center with the yellow and kind of blotted it in. And there was just a lot of going back and forth with the different colors and blending them in. So once I was kind of satisfied with the way that the orange and the yellow looked together, I then went in with some brown. I used melted chocolate. I accidentally dripped some on my little Spellbinders mat there, and so I just used it. I used a different sponge this time, though, since my other one was covered in yellow and orange. And so I would just kind of dab on some brown and then just kind of blot over it with that other sponge. Now, there wasn't actually a whole lot of orange or yellow paint on the other brush anymore, just a little bit, and just enough to kind of help it blend the brown into the rest of it better. So I just kind of went back and forth with the brown and dabbing it with the other sponge until it looked the way that I wanted it to. I was going for kind of like a harvest moon kind of look. Now, that's actually not what we ended up using, and I'll explain why when we get to that. So then I moved on to the windows. That same yellow from Apple Barrel and the same brown that I used earlier, and it's the same process as with the moon. So I coated the entire windows yellow, and with the other end of my sponge, I went around the edges with the brown, kind of heavier to what would be the farthest edges when you're looking at the house, the farthest to the sides, basically, I guess. So the goal was just to make them look like there was a glow from inside the house, and that, it's kind of fading as you move out toward the window, the edges of the windows, and that, maybe the windows are dirty, and so it just kind of gives it that old creepy house look, basically, but that there are lights on inside. The door, I wanted a wood grain kind of look, so I just kind of dabbed it on and then brushed vertically, and then did go through later and kind of scuffed it up a little bit, I guess you could say, to give it more of a wood grain look. I ended up using a fingernail to just kind of scratch it up and make it look a little more streaky. And I also did go around the edges completely like you see here. We decided on a few more props, and so my husband, using another 2x4, cut out a coffin and then sanded it down. He also, with those same wooden gift tags as the windows and door, he cut out a little headstone. I painted them and, kind of distressed and made them look older, and went over them for some details with a black and white paint pen. And there is the moon that we ended up using, and we ended up doing that because, as you can see, that hole was bigger than the original moon. So we decided after I had done that moon to do a hole in the back, and that was to allow some light to go through. You really wouldn't have to do this. It looks pretty cool without it, but it did make it look really neat. So I just used some Bearly art glue there to glue that down. Since we had to redo it anyway, we decided to go with a brighter one. So I left out the orange. With the orange on there, it really just kind of blended in a little too much, and so it didn't quite have the same effect that we were looking for. So I just used the yellow and the brown. And really, I do think it ended up looking a lot better. So I'm kind of glad for that, happy little accident, as Bob Ross would say. So now I am putting in some just twigs to make it look like there's some trees behind the house. And in a minute, I put in a much larger one to the side. And I did spray paint those black to give them kind of a creepy kind of nighttime vibe. I am using super glue. It honestly probably is the best choice anyway. But y'all, I can't find my hot glue gun again. So I just really have bad luck with hot glue guns, apparently. Okay, so in a second is going to come the big twig. Although I'm not really sure it's a twig when it's that big. Anyway, so I just kind of figured out the points where it was actually going to be setting on the wood. So, the bottom on the ledge, because it goes all the way to the bottom. I glued there. You can see me putting glue right there. In a second, I twist it so that I already did. Okay, so I twisted it so that I had another space to glue it. Here, I am just kind of figuring out where the house is going to go. I laid it down and turned it to the side so that you could see it. I don't have the best camera set up, but it's really my only option for right now, so I apologize. So I basically wanted the house where it was just not quite going to be against those twigs. So I again used super glue And it's the original super glue brand and you can get it at Dollar Tree, and it works extremely well. And that was the same brand of wood glue that I used, and it worked very, very well too. So the last few touches, I've got to glue on my forest moss. I got this stuff at Walmart. I'm gluing it to the bottom, and then I'm going to be putting pieces kind of sporadically around the larger twig. And I'm going to cut out some bats on my Cricut to glue close to the moon. And for all of that, I just use my Bearly art glue. And here it is, all finished. I do think that it turned out really, really neat. For the lights, we used LED tape lights. It's by Better Homes and Gardens, and you can get it at Walmart. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's adhesive light strip, basically. And so I just went around the circle with it on the wood. There was a nice, ledge there for me to tape it to. I did it as close to the back as I could get it. I thought that would give more of an eerie glow. And it worked out very, very well. I was very pleased with how this turned out. So here it is in the dark, all lit up with the tape light. It looks really cool. Here it is in the light. And I just thought I would share this. It's kind of funny. I just stuck my fingers back there. It looked really weird, so I thought I'd share. If you didn't want to go out and buy lights to attach to it, you could just put a desk lamp behind it. That's all this is. And it turned out very bright and looks very cool as well. And the best part is that since this was mostly free products, it cost me less than $5 to create this. All right, that's it. If you like this video, be sure and hit that like button and share with anybody you think might be interested. And if you're not already, I would love it if you would become a subscriber. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.